The theme for 2024 is a grand rising. The theme for June is holy boldness. The topic for today is unbounded and unstoppable. The following quote affirms our topic. Eckhart Tolle tells us, to know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom, salvation, enlightenment. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom, salvation, enlightenment. So let's affirm together. I'm free from limitations and unstoppable in God. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Reverend Dr. Kathleen Johnson.
So here's something to ponder. If we live in a world that is brimming, overflowing with infinite possibilities, and we are designed as individualizations of the one source, the one creator, the one life, the one power, that is unbounded, unstoppable in nature, then why is it that we aren't living in complete happiness and fulfillment 24/7? What is the invisible force that stands in the way? Anybody? Beliefs, beliefs, the belief in separation, the beliefs. So let me illustrate. You've probably heard this one before, but I'm going to do it again. Elephant trainers, when they work with a young elephant, put a chain around its leg and chain it to a big tree. And the elephant struggles and struggles until it finally just gives up. And then the trainer uses a rope, something a little less strong, and does that for a period of time. And then it gets to the point where all that the trainer needs to do is just to have some sort of a tie around the leg. And the elephant has learned by then that, or it has believed that it cannot break free. So it's not the tie that binds the elephant, it is the belief that has been established through experience. Wow. Does that apply to us? Yeah? Right? So experience, whether it's experience of having tried something and not been able to do it, or could it be that we come into this life as a newborn and we're immersed in a field of unconscious, automatic beliefs, thoughts that are the result of the some 7.8 billion humans that are broadcasting that all the time because we live in this collective consciousness. That's really something to contemplate, right? I don't know how many of you have been like lying in bed or maybe even during meditation and a thought arises and it's like, where did that thought come from? Out of that field of collective consciousness, which Ernest Holmes called race consciousness, and what he meant by that is human race consciousness, that collective consciousness that contains all of the beliefs. And it can be a trance to be caught up in that field of limiting beliefs, and it can be a trance to think that just because the thought arose, and I like that idea, the thought arose into my awareness, that somehow it's my thought. And what if all of that is really not your thought? It's part of this collective collection of thoughts, beliefs, and so on that's going on. I love what Eckhart Tolle said. He connected our freedom, our salvation, and our enlightenment to realizing that we are the being underneath the thinker or the mental noise, the surface thinking, or we could call it the conditioned mind. We are that which is beyond that can observe it. And so cultivating that awareness, that observer consciousness is key, and those of us who've been doing this for a long time know this, is key to our freedom, our salvation, and it is enlightenment. To be able to witness thoughts as they arise, because they do arise, and to decide, maybe to look at that and say, is that what I want to believe? And the truth is if it causes any type of stress or discomfort, it's not the truth. And some people go, well, but it looks like it's the truth. I mean, it seems like it's the truth. Well, if it causes that, it's not the truth, because the truth is well, let me just tell you something about quantum physics. Quantum physics tells us that all energy in which we live, move, and have our being is in constant motion, continually evolving and expanding. So so that's the trajectory of creation, is freer, fuller, more expanded expression. Beliefs block or distort that tendency. And when I say beliefs, and this is something that's really kind of maybe blow your mind, is that negative beliefs, being tied to negative beliefs, and that's what we do, it's tying, not consciously necessarily, but tied to those beliefs, and not only negative beliefs, but when we try to create positive beliefs, and I'll give you an example. Let's say I create the positive belief that let's see. Okay. I'll do a real. I know I was going, but I was thinking of one. I'm thinking, but that's not a real one. Okay. If I have a belief that this spiritual community is better when the entire room is filled. If I have that belief, what's it going to do? It's going to create stress and tension. It's not the truth. And it blocks the natural flow of creation. This is, I'll just be honest, this is one that I've really had to work with personally. And so that's a real honest belief. So so it could, I could see that as a right and good and positive belief that this community should grow, right? There's a should, but the truth is whenever there's a should, need to, have to, must to, we are limiting and blocking the natural flow of creation. So you might want to think about where that applies in your own life. Where are you shoulding yourself? Or other people, for that matter. So when we hold beliefs, it interferes with the natural expansion and evolution of source energy, and it is like swimming upstream against the natural flow, which takes a tremendous amount of energy. So constructing so-called positive beliefs and negative beliefs can limit the flow. So how do we neutralize that? How do we move beyond that? And I bet many of you know that answer already. The spiritual truth, knowing. And it's knowing, not believing, knowing the spiritual truth. Knowing it. And how do we get to a place of knowing the spiritual truth? That's the beauty of the form of prayer that we use. It's a series of statements of spiritual truth that we're reprogramming the thinking mind and also reprogramming, therefore, our neurobiology to line up with that truth. To line up with that truth. So every time we do a spiritual mind treatment, I know for many of you who are new to this, it's like, well, I'll just do my old form of prayer, which is fine. If you want to talk to a God out there, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just this particular form of prayer, I have found for myself personally, lines me up with truth. And it's just because it lines up with truth, it neutralizes false beliefs. Or beliefs. It neutralizes, let's just say, beliefs. And then frees us to get into that flow of expansion, evolution of consciousness, which is our birthright, which is how we are designed. So that way we're really lining up with who we are in truth, with that infinite being that is unstoppable and unbounded. So think about what happens, and I love visioning too. But one of the other pillars of science of mind that we teach, which are the three pillars, are spiritual mind treatment, visioning, and meditation. And visioning is so powerful. I like to think of it as contemplative meditation, because we contemplate questions from a place, and we drop into the silence first, down into the silence of being with a capital B, below the mind chatter, below the beliefs, in other words, and open ourselves to the field of all possibilities by asking powerful questions like, what is the highest idea of my life? How must I grow? What must I release in order to line up with this high vision of my life? Those kinds of things. And so the beautiful thing that happens is that the observer self, remember that's the part that observes and creates, the observer self observing the new possibilities, what happens in quantum physics? Collapses energy into form and experience in alignment with that new possibility. Are you with me? I'm not sure. Okay, you're with me. Okay. So if we continue to remember who we are, these amazing beings that collapse energy into form and experience, if we can stay in that awareness as much as possible, then we understand how important it is not to entertain beliefs, because they limit us. So I love this. So instead of being confined to fixed beliefs and their effects, we have the freedom to choose unconditional love, peace, understanding, compassion, joy, and the enchanting realm of magical possibilities. Do you like that? I like that too. I like that idea. So witnessing miracles that unfold as a result, we come to realize the profound potency of conscious choice, the profound potency of these practices of spiritual mind treatment and visioning and meditation. And then, what happens, and this is what happens with me, is I don't want to go a day without being involved in my spiritual practices, because I want to live in that enchanting realm of magical possibilities. And I want to be able to understand when a limiting thought is showing up so that I don't buy into it. So that is the first thing that I'm going to talk about, beliefs versus the truth, and how the truth neutralizes beliefs. The next one is judgment. Since all belief is truly self-belief, judgment is self-judgment. Did you know that? Because we're all one. The one thing I didn't mention about quantum physics is quantum physics has proved the ultimate truth for all, and truth is something that's true for you, me, and everything. Quantum physics has proven that the ultimate truth of all is that there is one unified field. That's the words that they use. One mind, one universal mind. And we are already one with it. So here's another mind-blowing thing to think about. We're not really connected or disconnected. We are it. So next time you hear yourself saying, well, I want to connect with spirit, ask for a shift in consciousness. I already am. I cannot actually disconnect myself from spirit. That's just a belief. Powerful stuff. Judgment. Let's get back to judgment. When you judge others, you are projecting your own judgment of yourself onto them. When others judge you, they are projecting their judgment of themselves onto you. So how do we get out of that game of judgment? Everybody projecting on everybody else. How do we get out of that game? We first of all start by stop judging ourselves. Just giving ourselves love. And the next thing that we do is we stop believing the judgments that other people project onto us. So it goes both ways. And see, the beautiful thing that happens is these projections block our ability to receive the truth of that person. And that person is not receiving our truth when they're judging us. So getting out of that game is so important. And to do that, as we do that, it's easier and easier to choose love, because love is what we are, and love is what comes through naturally when we let go of the judgments. I'd like to illustrate with the life of Nelson Mandela, because I think he is such a grand example of someone who stepped out of the game of judgment and miraculous things happened. So I'm going to read this in his own words because I just think it's so powerful. He said, I was in prison for 27 years. My activities were solitary confinement, hard labor, investigation, and torture. For the first 17 years, I hated the 3 jailers that I had. In the 17th year of my imprisonment, I realized that hate was unhealthy for me and for the movement. I realized I would die from hatred if I did not find a way through. Most importantly, I realized that to free my people, I needed to free not only the oppressed, but the oppressor. The oppressor is in a different kind of pain, a different kind of trauma, but just as horrendous as the oppressed. I needed to unlock the hatred by finding a place in my heart for my jailers. So I spent the 17th year of my imprisonment learning to love these men. By the end of that year, I knew about their families, their wives, their parents. I found a place in my heart for them, and I loved them. That's when I began to run the movement from prison. Powerful. Gives me God bumps. Such a great example of letting go of judgment and choosing love, and the miracles that can happen and unfold. And of course, everybody knows what happened from there. Once he got out, he was elected to be I believe it was the president, right, of South Africa. So let's practice. I always like practicing these things. And, we talked about shoulds or shouldn'ts. They're judgments, right? Somebody should, they should. So he, she, or should do this way, whatever it is to make me happy. So I'd like you to think of a should that you've just thought of that's come up to you recently. And it may not have sounded like a should, but it would have been like an annoyance. Why isn't this person blank? More blank, or why don't they show up like this differently? So when we do that, take a moment, Think about your should or your shouldn't, and it could be a need to, have to, must. All of these are called in psychology irrational thinking. But they are false beliefs. They are beliefs. They limit what we can accomplish in our lives. Everybody have a should or shouldn't? Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is say to yourself, I'm aware of this thought or belief. I'm aware of it. So you're stepping back, you're being the observer. I'm aware of the emotion that it creates. Notice the emotion, where it is in your body. If it's any type of upsetting emotion, constricting, tightening, uncomfortable emotion or feeling, then you know it's not the truth. And you're not receiving the truth of the person in front of you. Now I invite you to ask the spirit or the infant being within you for a shift in consciousness, a shift of thought. Just ask for a shift so you have a shift of perspective. So that you can see that person for who they are in truth. And breathe. Just breathe. This change of perspective, this simple change, will change everything in you and the people around you, because we're all one. So something really powerful happened in this room. I don't know if you can feel it energetically. Can everybody feel? I can feel it. Something happened just by that one exercise. Think what would happen if we did that on a regular basis, if we observed the shoulds and the shouldn'ts as they came up, how they feel, and we ask for a shift. It's a pretty simple process. Powerful. So let's turn within. And so I just give thanks. I give thanks for the understanding that there's one unified field, one life, one source, one presence, one power, one field of all possibility and all potentiality. And that is God. And my life, therefore, is the life of God. Everyone's life is the life of God. That is our identity. There's no separation, there's no connection or disconnection, there simply is that truth that we are that life. And so I know that this awareness, this observer awareness serves each one of us so beautifully as we move through our week and through the rest of our lives. As we begin to observe thoughts that arise, and instead choose what it is that we choose to think, to believe, and to focus on, knowing that is our ticket to freedom, salvation, and enlightenment. And I claim that it is so. I give thanks that it is so, and I release this word to the action of universal law. I let it be, and so it is.